Would you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and your name?
I'm Earlene Floyd. I'm the daughter of Elder Sibby Jordan.
You live here in Leesburg. You've been here. How many years you've been?
I'm a Leesburg native, born and reared here. This is my home.
We're sitting right here at Venetian Gardens, beautiful Venetian Gardens with our backdrop. And you have a couple things that you brought today. Could you tell me a little bit about um, what you brought today?
Well, number one, I brought a picture of my mother, which was a pastor, Elder Sibby Jordan. And I also bought a picture of the church that we're going to talk about. This was the bishop, Bishop Nelson. Well, I think he passed away in 1973.
Yes, ma'am.
But I was able to meet him, and a very inspiring bishop. And he had a son named Henry Nelson, which was a musician. That's the first I've ever heard of, I guess they call them electric guitars now,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
back then they called them Hawaiian guitars.
Yes, ma'am.
And the music that he could play, it would just light up a town. You could hear it from the church down to Main Street. Very inspiring. In fact, I never heard anybody else could top that. But this was a very inspiring bishop.
Amazing grace, how sweet the I was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Elder Sally Thomas, somehow they became affiliated. They would come over each Sunday from Apopka and worship with us. And that's how I met the Thomas family. At that time, the children were young, still in school, but Deacon Thomas would drive. He had I guess a flatbed pickup truck. He would load all the Thomases up, the family, and bring them to the Pentecostal Church of Jesus.
November.
You moved from Quitman to Leesburg, Florida in 1949.
Yeah, November 49. You see the horse circle, the horse circle, place called Horse Circle. Fella he owned, the color fella he owned all that circle. He had a little circle to hide. His name was Walter Hall. He was the founder of that little quarters.
Hall Circle. And that's still in Leesburg now? Is it called something else?
Leesburg.
Okay.
And that was in 1950. I met my mother, my wife, mother. She was an evangelist, running service on the streets, you know, people run service.
Mm-hmm. The street service. What was her name?
About Sally Thomas, she was the founder of the House of God at Leesburg in 1950. She started that little band, the big church now on 1010 McNamee. That was her founder. She started that church.
Okay.
tell you about the car, but the car was before again.
I talked to my dad, and David, I don't know if you ever heard of Elder Cobb. I'm told that he is the one that actually built the church there on McNamee Street. I'm told that he purchased the property there.
In 1961, L.E.G. Gent, the sister Sally got sick and she couldn't pass it no more. L.E.G. Gent, L.E.G. Gent for 4 years. He was the pastor after we got to build the church. I built the church in 61.
Mm-hmm.
And we built that church on 1010 McNamee in 1961.
Okay.
Elder Gent was the pastor of that church. Elder Carl was gone, and Elder Gent the one took over. He run it to the Illinois company, New York, Illinois. Who ran, I believe, from New York, I believe, Illinois come down.
New Jersey.
So she was the pastor then, Reverend Gent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I remember growing up in the house of God, and like my brother said, that there was really no escaping going to church because we were right next door. And what I remember vividly was, and which probably lends some credibility to what my brother said in regards to the property, I remember whenever there were visiting elders, ministers, pastors, my grandmother took a portion of her front porch, she closed it all in, and there was an extra bedroom that was like off limits. You don't mess with around in that room because that became almost like the parsonage area for whenever there was a visiting minister that would come into town for a revival, for special services at House of God. That person always had a room to stay in, and my grandmother would cook and feed them and make sure that they had somewhere to lodge, clean linen and all that stuff. So I remember that vividly, even as a little girl. I must have been no more than about 5 years old when I really came into the knowledge of, that room, and why, I couldn't go jump in that bed, because, you don't go playing in there. That room's sacred and sanctified and set apart.
We'll sit down and we play records. They had a whole big record player, put 12 records on it, and we sit. And she used to play the piano, and the wife played the piano, singing some of her band song was God is Real in My Soul.
Yes, God is real, real in my soul. My God is real, for He is my
I could.
What are the words to it?
God is real in my soul.
That's it? No other words?
real, for I can feel Him in my soul.
Okay. That's where I met my wife. She was a drum beater.
So I take it you like drum beaters?
I said she was a drum beater.
Okay. So you married her because she was pretty? Right? Is that what you're saying?
I learned first sight.
You loved her at first sight.
Yeah, that first visit, I loved her.
Okay. Oh, okay. What about her that made you love her at first sight? What about her that made you love her like that?
Kept in my heart. She eyes a man blind or to go to heaven. With eyes, the one starts everything over eyes. See eyes and you like it, and your eyes say mine. See what you think about that. I think we're gonna try. Let's talk to the heart.
So her eyes is what it,
Eyes, the one that start off things.
yes, sir.
And they speaks to the mind, and the mind speaks to the heart.
I love singing. I love serving. I love what I do now. It's like totally different. Like I'm always trying to figure out a way to do something for other people. And I saw my mom and dad do that.
You are that aunt who serves and willingly.
I love it too. And I'm like, why am I doing this? But it's like down in me to do it. And the expectations that you expect for other people to do it, that's not their call, it's your call. And it's my call, so I'm like enjoying it. It's like every day as each day goes by, it's like, oh, I feel good about that, you know. But I just remember coming up as a child, I never really, I thought, I don't really like doing this. But now it's like a passion.
You know, manually. So spelling bees, learning how to spell it, you actually had to have Bible in hand. I mean, you wasn't no Google, you know, so we just got it the old-fashioned way, and I think that's part of the retention in learning and remembering all of that. And I always attribute my spiritual growth to I call her my auntie cousin pastor, and that's Elder Trifolia Brinson. I say this everywhere I go. I'm like, you know, it was under her. What she taught me was, I don't care if it was me and I was the little girl next door. I was always probably the first or second at church. If it was me, her, and cousin SJ,
Church gonna start.
we started it
on time.
6 o'clock. Service starts. So there was no wavering from that. We started on time.
No.
So that's what I always remembered, that, you know, she honored God with her timeliness. And so what stood out for me was the real history of House of God was the female founder, Mother M.L. Tate. Okay. So for me, she actually trailblazed the way for women to be in ministry during a time when it was not popular, it was not common, it wasn't even accepted. But she made this path, and I can just remember so many times that we would only, at House of God, we only fellowshipped with House of God because women were pretty much dominant in ministry. There were male leaders, male chief overseers and elders, but they allowed women to serve in ministerial capacities, whereas other churches were not accepting. So for me, that became a very strong, not even knowing that one day, you know, because I really had no desire. That clarion call that I was telling y'all about, I was serious. I did not want it. So when, you know, growing up, I just always had great respect for female leaders who were courageous and bold enough to accept that call to lead God's people. I strongly believe it's because of my roots in the foundation, because I even said, I give credit and credence every time, even in my bios when I'm, traveling in plays, they always ask me where did I get my start. I said I can remember when I was 5 years old at the House of God in the youth plays, the youth skits, and all that stuff, because it was always a something for the youth to do. So I think, like I said, that's what just kept me connected, was the fact that House of God always had something for youth and young people to do and made us feel like included, so it made you kind of put a value not only on your relationship with each other and the other people there, but it put a value on your relationship with God, for you to just always have that strong, that bottom, that foundation. Because I'm telling you, there's been some things that have happened, in my life growing up that I almost let go.
Almost gave up.
And I'm just thankful that whenever I think back to, my foundation, that House of God is that solid spiritual foundation that I lean on, and that, even when I feel like, because even now I'll say I'm all churched out, because people have a way of just making you want to disconnect sometimes. I'm just being honest. And it's just so good to have such a strong spiritual foundation, and that I do give credit to my strong teaching and the leaders at the House of God for providing that for me to be the person that I am. Oh, that was hilarious.
He was a
He
character.
is actually,
He was a
Uncle
character.
Freddie is actually the reason why I don't hang up the phone on people. Ma'am, hang up the phone. Ma'am, I'm gonna hang up. Ma'am, will you please hang up? No, but I remember Uncle Freddie, we would be in service, Hawaiian guitars going spirit high. He would literally be speaking in tongues. He would hear that telephone ring.
He comes straight out the spirit.
He would speak in tongue all the way to the phone. In that little room, he'd cut through that side door and go right in there. House of God. And answer the phone. I'm like, that's where they got Thank God It's Friday from. Yes. It was Tarot service at House of God. I swear, I got saved every Friday.
Come on, give Jesus some praise. Come on, give him some praise in here tonight. Anybody got a praise that will steal the enemy? Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Come on, choir, let's dance a little bit. Nations are crying, crying for you. Let the church burn with passion within. Let the foundation shake and the people all tremble, calling for you once again. Lord of the dance.